And okay, now we are into episode 11 of Sonic Heroes, and the final level um, of the regular story playthroughs. If you noticed, it did say episode 11 and not finale, so yes, I do plan to advance to the last story, spoilers, I guess, which means I must have succeeded here. Oh well. So we're coming into Final Fortress. Now, there's a couple of gimmicks here at work in this level. First off, you can see that they just decided to just spill enemies in places. This is again, a feature of Team Dark playthrough. Not necessarily the case for all teams going into this level. So we need to go over here, destroy this turret. That'll give us access to the spring and send us to the first checkpoint. Now, you're given this platform, and there's an enemy up there. But your best bet is just to sort of jump over him. Now, that floor is going to go away. Now, if you're using your speed character, you could theoretically triangle jump across and get that item up in the balloon there. But I really wasn't going to risk that here. Instead, we're going to take Omega. We're going to hit some robots in the face with our friends here. And get Omega a level up that will now allow him to shoot the machine gun bullet. When you come down here, avoid the middle just because you don't want to get trapped fighting those guys with the shields, because above them are the mortar turrets that just like to home in on you and shoot where you are. And fortunately, we've collected enough rings and done enough damage to get rid of the stuff around here with the Team Blast. Now, there is an E2000 series robot up here. The first time you see them, they're yellow. They look exactly like the E1000 series robot. Sort of giant chicken men. That's the best way I can put it. But if you want to, you don't necessarily need the Team Blast to get by them. Just realize that, like the E1000 chicken guys, they will shield themselves and try to prevent you from doing anything. Alright, so on this pole here, we're going to switch to Omega to take advantage of this triangle dive. And while you can land up on one of those two turret areas, I instead went ahead onto the middle rail, and I'm going to stay as Rouge. Then I'm going to go off to the left purely as a precautionary measure. You can see those platforms like to fall away. And here's an E2000 series robot that we're going to have to deal with without a Team Blast. Now, again, you can do this if you want to by trying to get Omega to go in close, but really you're better off having Rouge back away far enough so that the thing doesn't think you're a threat and just beating him to death. Of course, this requires Rouge to be at level 2 or better, where her Thunder Shoot attack can actually do some real damage. Alright, so now we're going to go down into this passageway here. We got some guys. Now Omega's up at level 2, so he's got flamethrower capabilities. Help us clear those out. And now we have an E1000 robot. And again, strategy stays the same. You can go in close like I'm going and try to do more damage. But you're probably best off just sort of sitting a little bit out of his reach and going after him with Rouge. And then we got these two robots, which allows us to break that force field. And then we run across our first armored, helmeted enemy in this level. You're going to have to be careful with how you use your Team Blasts in this level, because sometimes those armored guys will show up, and there's no better way to deal with them than simply getting rid of them with your Team Blast mode. Okay, so now we're going to go across this level up thing and blow up this Eggman ship, because Eggman ships all have nice big self-destruct buttons, in the way. And you'll notice that there is a E-1000 robot hanging out on the bottom there. Again, that's purely a Team Dark characteristic. There are no enemies hanging out on the on these things. I don't believe in the Team Sonic or Team Rose versions of this level. This is also going to introduce something new, because not only are we grinding on these rails, but now the computer is going to shoot laser beams up the rails at us. And you'll get a brief hint of which rail it is by what rail gets electrified. And then, if Omega's or Shadow is nice, they'll tell you what color laser it is. Yellow laser always comes from the center. Red laser always comes from the left. And I believe the blue laser always comes from the right. So now we're past this part, and here's a big guy without a helmet, so, you know, Omega can take him down pretty easily based on where that guy can reach. And then we run into having to shoot this target. And if you've been following along, you notice that don't always get the right formula for making these targets work. Right, so now we're going to triangle jump our way across. The trick here is that the E-1000 robot will shoot, and I don't know if Shadow can be hit while he's triangle jumping or not. You can't obviously stay attached to the wall for any length of time, so you got to move pretty quick. So now we're going to use Rouge like we should have been doing to get rid of that robot. We've got a Team Blast in the offing, and here we've got shielded robots and a turret firing right down the alley at us. Not the best situation to be in, and unfortunately here we lose our rings. But we still have our level ups, so we're still in pretty good shape here. And here you've got a couple of different ways you can get to the next part. Although this is not quite as free-flowing as Egg Fleet was. Alright, we're going to take out the big helmeted foe and some of the turrets with the Team Blast, and then while Team Blast is stopped time, we're going to kill these other turrets so they won't bother us later. It also reveals a switch that we're going to need. That switch will turn on this fan here. So we're going to ride up the fan, and then we're going to burst into that character right there. Now here is where it gets a little tricky. There are 3 switches, one located on a different platform, and you have to use Rouge's flight formation in order to drop your teammates off at the appropriate spots for them to fire the switches. So we're losing Omega here, which means that we can't do our strongest Thundershoot attack, where we just sort of, you know, fire repeatedly. And then I make a decision to keep Shadow for the next switch. But see, here we've got the same problem we had on the other side, except now we only have Shadow to shoot at people. We're going to get rid of that turret there, but we're going to find some spawn-in enemies here that have shields. And there's not much Rouge can do about these. So I'm going to try to do is drop Shadow off on the switch. The problem is that he's going to get moved off of the switch by that foe, and so he's going to come back here. So it's really going to be a matter of me rushing Rouge over there. Although it does give you an opportunity to see Rouge unencumbered by any of the other characters. And she can move around and do all the things that she can normally do. She even shoots a fake... okay, those are actually my rings. But once I got the third switch in, they gave me all my teammates back. So we were able to use Omega to finish off these enemies here. Alright, so now we need to use Omega's triangle dive to go up this fan. And we sort of miss the objective there. Get these two lookouts. They're just there to be annoying. Now we're going to go here. I'm going to grab the shield. And we're going to get back on the grind rail from there. And then we're going to fall down onto a new grind rail. And then, imagine that, we're going to fall down into another grind rail. Now, for the most part, I'm going to play this smart. And I'm going to stay as Rouge on these rails in order to make sure that the rail switching does what it's supposed to do, or at least give me an option to come back if we screw it up. So we've got two E2000 series robots here on the bottom, along with a couple of other egg pawns. But you'll notice I'm not using my Team Blast to face them, and there's a particular reason for this that has to do with the other enemies on this stage. Right, a couple of level ups for Shadow, even though he was already max level by the time we got here. Another flying switch, and this one can be a little bit annoying to activate because if you go too high, which isn't a problem on a lot of switches, you'll run into the bar, and it will block you from being able to shoot your thingy-dingy. Yep, see it? Alright, so we pulled that off. Now we have this big fan to deal with. And we've got two ways we can go, but only one of them is easy to get to. And that's the one on our left. You'll notice I'll try to go right, but it just doesn't give us enough height to do that. So we're going to end up going to our left. And there is our armored friend. So to get rid of our armor friend here, we are going to go ahead and use that Team Blast that we've been saving up. And then we're sent over here, but we get here before the Chaos Control Meter stops. So we actually got a couple of hits, and we got to hit the guy before his helmet came back. So really, no matter how you manage this, you are going to have to fight one of these helmeted guys with his helmet on. Okay, just remember, everything, including the helmet, is a hitbox. So, you know, we got Omega in there to attack his head. We still need to get him down one more time because it took us a little while to maneuver over in that area. Now the camera's giving us a little problem in the fact that we just can't see where the guy is. We can fully rotate the camera, but yeah, sometimes that screws up things. Alright, so now he can be knocked over again. And again, we have to watch out for that hitbox problem. And we can blow him up with one final Omega sweep. And then we can activate this switch over here. This gives us a new, this gave us a new fresh Team Blast, which should give you an idea as to what's next. That's right, 3 big guys, including one helmeted big guy. Alright, so the Team Blast successfully wipes them out there. Run around and get these extra level up discs. I'm not sure if they give you extra points or not. And now we are ready to go to the final part of the level. And this I left intact. Ordinarily I would have cut footage to show you my success. But there was something, you know, I just wanted to show you this. This is how close I got to not having an E rank on this stage. So we got the speed character coming around just to get through that little scripted section faster. But now we have to do the massive laser jumping section. So there's a yellow laser there. That's not a big deal. We've seen that before. Red laser there. We've seen that before too. But what's going to happen here is, okay, we've got those guys. So there's another laser. And they're now going to be egg pawns hanging out at the end of these rails, with the exception of the last rail. And now we're into the big part where you have to do a lot of switching because these things will end periodically. And to make it more fun, they will put egg pawns at the beginning of the rails. So we jumped from rail to rail to rail. Now we're all the way on the left side. And now we run into the last problem. This is the Eggman laser. And what I tried to do there is I tried to switch to Shadow to speed through that area. And unfortunately that left me vulnerable to the game's grinding mechanics. If I'd been Rouge, I could have gone up, jumped into the air, and potentially avoided the big laser that way. And I wouldn't have any problem switching rails. But because I switched to Shadow, well, we died. And not because we got shot, but because we did something, you know, we probably shouldn't have been doing.
Look out, red laser.
So here comes, so this time when we come down here, we're going to mess with, I mean, they're going to stand there, we're going to mess with them kind of thing. Now, the timing will affect when the lasers fire. Notice that slowing myself down made the laser fire quicker, which will give you less time to react to it when you get there. And for some reason, we decided to kill the other two egg pawns on the sides before the one in front, but whatever. So now we're once again in this laser jumping section here. And this time we're going to jump so fast on one of these. Oh, there, okay. Yeah. I don't know how we ended up going backwards and into the egg pawn, but we did. So now, not only do we have the lasers to deal with, but we have no rings at all. So one hit is death, which is bad because this is the big laser coming up here from Eggman's eye. And although it looks like you can avoid it by being on an outside rail, you can't really. And so, you know, we had to jump up there. And then finally we reach the end of the stage, but we have no rings. We have to land very carefully, and we have to hope that Omega doesn't slide us over the edge anywhere. In fact, we just skip the sleeping enemies there, and we have to hope, as we blow up Eggman's bridge, we have to hope that they don't put any surprises right next to the gold ring. And unlike some of the other Team Dark levels, they actually didn't. So we can accept our E rank with some grace. We really were, you know, pretty close to doing much better, but no point in fighting it, because we still have to deal with the person we think is Eggman, but as you guys know from a couple levels back, probably isn't.
Okay, no more games.
Intercept mode complete. This is the end of the line, Doctor.
So we get a couple of one-liners from the team here, and now we face the Egg Emperor, who is a really hard boss the first time you fight him. But once you start to learn about his quirks, he becomes a much easier guy to face. Now, ordinarily, you've seen me stick to Omega and Rouge. In this early part, although we had a lot of terrible luck here, I recommend being Shadow. And the reason I say that is you want to stay reasonably close to Eggman as he retreats in this stage, because if he gets too far enough back, you saw him do it while we were kind of upended, he will charge you. Just like that. And we just kept getting hit by a number of things here. Oh, and then he hits us from the back, through the back, which is a nice touch. And so now we come to the first boss arena. Now, what I like to do is I like to clear out the cannons on these arenas first, just because I don't want to have to deal with the additional problems. But I am going to go ahead and hit Eggman a couple times. That gets me my Team Blast, which is going to do a majority of the damage. But notice I got Rouge up to level 2 and I'm hitting with her. Now I'm hitting him during the time stoppage, and I'm going to keep hitting him once time resumes. You see, he's got 53 hit points left. If you get Rouge at just the right distance where Eggman won't run away and he can't really swing at you, then this boss will go down very easily. In fact, this is the easiest time I ever had with this boss, but also, to be fair, this is the first time I'd actually successfully defeated the boss this way. Previously, it was always, wait for new team blasts and run around to the various boss platforms
All right.
and do it that way. But there we go, minute 33. We're out of here,
Treasure, Doc.
and we are ready to finish up the small parts of Team Dark's story before we go into the final story. Okay, it looks like Eggman, and he looks pretty destroyed.
Now let's find that secret.
So Rouge up in here. Now, if you'll recognize those capsules from Bullet Station, yeah, these are the same Shadow capsules, and they hold Shadow androids. So this is where Rouge decides that Shadow, who's been with us the whole game, is actually not the real Shadow, but just a clone or a robot, which is disappointing for her. So, I mean, that's, for someone who's supposedly self-interested in treasure, it's a nice moment for her. Of course, we know that those aren't Rouge's real motivations. She's a government spy first, treasure hunter second. So then she remarks that the Echidna is here, which is the first clue that you get that these stories are happening simultaneously, so that Team Sonic is also on this ship. But if you notice Rouge's conversation with Omega, Omega tells her that Eggman can't make clones if there's nothing to make a clone of, which means that Shadow's got to be there somewhere. We're going to find out in the next game that Shadow is the Shadow that we released here at the beginning of the Team Dark storyline is in fact the real Shadow the Hedgehog, and you'll see that he is in a much different area than the rest of the Shadow clones, probably for safety reasons, and might also be the reason that E123 Omega is in there. But we're going to come back with the final story, and I will see you next time. But I will leave you with a little bit of This Machine, just in case you didn't get it from the title of this particular chapter.
Change surroundings, a chilling history, a treasure treasure disappears as she goes. Miss her as you look away, and no one knows. This power is a key. This power changes me. We are destined fire, trapped in this machine. Don't know how long we've waited. As the Eggman's watching, we are destined fire, looking through a screen. Don't know how long we've waited. As the Eggman watches. One, two, three. You didn't know, now I'm gonna show you the power that is me. You try to take me down, stop the show. Seems you've never tasted fear, a loss of control. The power lives in me, the power that is me. We are destined fire, trapped in this machine. Don't know how long we've waited. As the Eggman watching, we are destined fire, looking through a screen. Don't know how long we've waited. As the Eggman watches.
And if you're still hanging on at this point, again, it will be final story next time. And yeah, we're not doing that. No, you can forget that. Sorry. That's not happening.